Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the EOcafe, where the EO community meet. This is our 86th EOcafe, and today we're looking at EuroGEO and how that can empower Europe's EO community. So welcome. Usual rules, usual approach. So please put your name and organization into the as your image. Keep your microphone muted unless you're asked to join the conversation. Feel free to leave your camera on. It's always good to see people. And if you've got questions or you just want to post comments, please put those into the chat, and then we can pick them up. And if it's a question, then generally I'll ask you to pose the question yourself. And if you could just introduce yourself as you start speaking. So that's the basic rules. I'm pleased to welcome today Nicolas Fichot and Emmanuel Pajot. And we're talking about EuroGEO, which is the European Regional Initiative that aims to consolidate and coordinate European activities that contribute to GEO. So we should perhaps introduce to GEO. We could also say that it's about maximizing the benefit from Europe's investment in GEO. So we've already had GEO in the EOcafe. We had Jana couple of years ago, I think, and maybe it's time we invited her back to talk about the evolution of GEO. GEO itself was launched in 2003 and was formed in 2005 with its offices, its secretariat based in Geneva. It's an international, intergovernmental organization, sometimes struggles a little bit with the governance. And it has 116 countries as members, and it's essentially the countries that are members, although there are a number of associates, of which ERSC is an associate, and participating organizations. So it's quite broadly based. The mission is to co-produce user-driven Earth intelligence, informing decisions and accelerating action on global societal and environmental challenges, leveraging its unique position as an established intergovernmental body with a strong and inclusive partnership. I find that quite complex as a mission statement, I won't comment any further. Now, before looking at EuroGEO and how that fits to GEO, let's introduce our two guests, Nicolas from Armin and the EuroGEO Secretariat, and Emmanuel also from the Secretariat, but from ERSC. So as is customary, let me ask you just to introduce yourselves, say a bit about yourselves, your background, how you are where you are. Nicolas?
It would be a long story because I'm getting old. First, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. So I won't be speaking on my behalf. I will be the spokesperson for the EuroGEOSec project. And in the consortium, you do have MIN Paris. So this is the organization where I belong. You have ERSC, and Emmanuel is member of the project. We have CNR in Italy, NOAA in Greece, Evenflow, and OGC as well. We are financed by RIA, Research Executive Agency, and it's a project that is, because of its strategic linkage to GEO, as you just described, it's coordinated by DG RTD, DG DEFIS, and also we have the GRC KCO in our governing board for the project. And you could say that for this EuroGEO initiative, that is the regional activity under GEO, we are a sort of test bench for secretariat. So we are not a secretariat. It's a project supporting the initiative, trying to look at possibility to establish a secretariat.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll come on and discuss that further. Emmanuel, just a bit about yourself.
Yes, a little bit. Thank you. Emmanuel Pajot, so I am the Secretary General of ERSC, so it's a real pleasure to contribute to this EOcafe this time. And as just said by our project coordinator, ERSC is part of the EuroGEO Secretariat project. I am a geologist by training, and I initially joined EuroGEO to work for NextGeo's project, which was one of the first projects directly linked to GEO. So GEO is really at the core of a lot of different activity that the Secretariat is involved in, and we see a lot of value, and we are glad to share this and to even develop this value for members.
Good. Yes, I think the various measures to try to take the benefit from GEO. It's been an interesting path, and there's still some way to go. So GEO, as I said, was formed in 2005 following discussions in 2003, and it sorted itself out, and I think it was around 2015, someone here can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, the discussion started about having sort of organizations of regional players. And the first regional organization that was created, again, correct me if I'm wrong, if I recall, was EuroGEO. I was trying to check up on these facts before the call, and I can't find any reference on the GEO website. But EuroGEO was then followed by various other regional organizations from the Americas, an Asian organization, and EuroGEO. And I think it's fair to say that for some time it was, maybe even still, a question of what those regional organizations were doing. And they're all sort of organized slightly differently and doing things differently. So there's some things to learn and some best practices. So EuroGEO was first formed, sounds a bit grand, but certainly the organization started to be discussed and started to take shape 5 or 6 years ago in order to make the most out of the European innovation. And EuroGEO wants to become the main forum for European Earth observation stakeholders from all sectors, public, private, research, to meet, interact, and further strengthen the European EO ecosystem, as well as the capacity to address global challenges. So quite ambitious and quite difficult to establish the mechanisms that can make that happen. So there was a EuroGEO workshop organized recently in Krakow in Poland, and this looked at discussing and addressing what could be made out of EuroGEO, how it could be run, and as Nicola and Emmanuel have mentioned, there's the EuroGEO Secretariat project, which is looking at how this could be organized and how it could be made sustainable. And that's the challenge. So that was the main focus of discussion in Poland, and I guess we'll go on to discuss that as we go through. But maybe in order to understand, Nicola, perhaps I could start by you explaining what your role is in EuroGEO, so that people can understand, as a EuroGEO Secretariat, what your objective and roles are.
All right. So why am I here today? So in our institute, through Thierry and Lionel as well, has been involved in GEO for a very long time, like personally engaged into the governing organs of GEO and really committing resources to GEO. Initially, GEO was organized around societal benefit areas with topics, and the institute was amongst the first to commit pilot activities to GEO on an in-kind contribution basis. At the time, GEO was focused on interoperability and standards for data sharing. That was the main scope of GEO, and the lab developed an expertise on that. After, so it was in 2000 when I joined 2017. The lab has been assigned the coordination of the EShape project with a very large consortium. It was 15 million for 54 partners over 4 years. And the idea of EShape was to bring a massive European contribution to GEO. It was clearly earmarked as a contribution to GEO, and it was to demonstrate the European capabilities to develop services with and for end user with standardized methods. So in this project, over 4 years, we tested the concept of having a conveyor belt where we can take innovation and bring it to sustainability. I'm simplifying a lot. And it worked on 7 societal equivalent of social benefit area. We call it differently, but it was that. And 37 pilots in total for the project. And the outcomes of this EShape project went into the design of the GEO work program for the next post-2025 period. So when the EuroGEO Secretariat project emerged, we proposed to coordinate this project with the core team of EShape. So what you find, because it was a very small project and a very small funding, what you find in this project, EuroGEOSec, is really the core team of what was EuroGEO, what was EShape. And within EuroGEO community and the network it represents, you find all the partners that were involved in EShape in any case. Over time, I mean, EShape, it was 200, 250 persons participating to the project. It was massive.
Yeah, a much bigger scale. There's a lot to unwrap there. So maybe what I talked a little bit about the various regional initiatives. What are the links between EuroGEO and GEO?
Yes,
how's that organized?
Yes, that's what we are working on, I must say. So initially, because as you say, we are part of like a historical process. So the EuroGEO initiative is coming from 2017. The first documents that we could find were 2017. At the time, as I said, GEO was focused on data sharing, data standards, data management principles. That was the core. And the idea was to gather all this international community and all these countries to put data together in order to contribute to the social good. That was more or less the idea. In that respect, there was this idea to create regional caucus, so clustering the different countries into more manageable contribution that could build synergies, that could put maybe resources in common, and could contribute to the GEO work program. That was more or less the idea. And EuroGEO was formed at that time. It took a structure that is different from the other regional GEO, as you said. All of them are different. Our regional GEO is structured with action groups around societal benefit area in GEO. And initially, it was to bring pilot applications that could use Earth observation data to provide services and to make the demonstration that these services could be operational and brought into a more, let's say, international context and with open access, open data, open sharing. That was the idea. So we inherited, right now in 2024, we inherited the structure of this original EuroGEO, but the dynamic has changed, because the objective was not only to build pilot, it was also to bring synergies, to build synergies between the contributions to GEO. And the goal was also to bring links to Copernicus. At the time, Copernicus was not structured like it is today. And the idea was to bring bridges to Copernicus. So at the time, the action groups were formed. There was a group formed as well that is the high-level working group today. It's a support to the European Commission with member states contributing to GEO. And besides that, there was the creation of a EuroGEO workshop. The idea of the EuroGEO workshop was to cluster all the EU-funded contribution to GEO, and there were a lot of EU-funded contribution through the Edge 2020 program, for example. And the idea was for this contribution to gather and to share best practices on what they were doing in Earth observation. And it came, essentially, the outcome was the creation of a relatively big and structured community. And this is the stage where we are today. We have this high-level working group with a representative of member states, not necessarily the same persons that are in GEO, by the way. We have the action groups aligned with societal benefit area, and some of them already changed their name because they realign with what is happening externally. So there was the creation of an urban action group, which is a new topic for them. So this ecosystem is changing. And we have the EuroGEO workshop that was initially more a knowledge sharing forum, but you can see as well that it has its limit because there are so many knowledge sharing forum in Europe that at some point people were questioning the relevance of continuing to have a EuroGEO workshop while it's fundamental for the initiative. And this is where we took the initiative. And now what we are trying to do, I think we could explain that by trying to harness, really restructure the initiative, put it on the right direction so that it could exploit its full potential. Right now, the initiative is organized in a way that it is not exploited the full potential of what it has created.
So again, comes back down to maximizing the benefits from the European investment. And I think touching on what you've said, I guess most people are aware, but membership of GEO are countries. It's at the national level, but the European Commission is additionally a member and contributes fairly significantly into the funding of the GEO Secretariat and the GEO activities. GEO has also been a very big driver for open data, and I remember long discussions with Barbara about this years ago in relation to Copernicus. Emmanuel, do you want to add anything to what's been said?
I think yes, maybe I think what we can see over the last few years in the evolution of GEO and the relation with the private sector as well. When we EuroGEO joined GEO as a participating organization in 2016, it was not easy or possible for companies to join. So that was in a way legitimate as well the role of course in the organization. And what we saw over the last few years is much more awareness of the company in GEO because of different actions. Yes, what the European Commission did for sure play a strong role. They made different calls linked to GEO as well. So it supported the vision of this collaborative aspect. And now we reach a point where we can see that a lot of companies are really aware and are following. So we are really at this pivot point where there is now a real interest, and I could develop this. And we need to see how we can really maximize their involvement in GEO. And potentially, EuroGEO could be the perfect step in order to onboard them into this scheme and promote them into GEO. So I really see EuroGEO as an enabler in order to federate the GEO community in Europe, and then move this awareness and move these capabilities into the larger picture that GEO is.
So I'm not sure if it's right to talk about members of EuroGEO. You can correct me on that. But do participants to EuroGEO have to be members of GEO first, or is it a decoupling?
No, it's sorry, I can answer that. Yeah. Actually,
Great, both of you, just to contribute as you wish.
Yeah. Sorry,
Nicola.
Yeah, no. For the membership, there is no real notion of membership in EuroGEO. This is the action groups that we have actually built organically. So they aggregated, they sort of aggregated around the funding that was provided by European Commission to different projects that were in-kind contribution to GEO. And then they aggregated around that. What we saw over time is that there are some core participants in the action group, but most of them are relatively informal. So projects, activities that are relevant to the topic are participating to action group meetings. It's not a closed forum. And there is a need for us in the project to conceptualize a little bit more what has happened and to develop a model of membership. But it seems that the fact that it is open and very flexible is a very good asset of the initiative. And it should probably remain like that, more like a communities of practice somehow, kind of model, rather than a membership-based activities. Also, I mean, coming to what you said, Emmanuel, yes, I think the shift in membership in GEO with more participation of the private sector has to do with the addition of this concept of Earth intelligence. So what I said is initially it was focused on data sharing and standards, and now the fact to include Earth intelligence, to me, it means that we would be working more on downstream services on Earth observation. And this involves a lot the contribution of the private sector. And also in EuroGEO, this is something that we need to consider because the initiative GEO is shifting towards Earth intelligence. This means that in the regional GEO, we should also consider this dimension of Earth intelligence. And this is why in our project, we have these specific activities on supporting research and innovation and market development. So to try to put in place the basic tools and support that could help participants or in the action group to do better and to get better or quicker to operational services. This also implies maybe an enlargement of the membership in EuroGEO itself, shifting from data sharing and standards, so keeping this core activity because that's where we belong and that's how we are built, but also adding more actors that are able to represent this downstream operational sector.
Yeah, I could complement as well again that if we look at currently at the GEO initiatives, there is 19 GEO initiatives, and only 10 of them have at least one private sector representative in it. When we made a survey amongst the EuroGEO community in Europe, but when we asked them if they were interested to join this initiative, we received really high interest. So we can see that there is a lot of appetite, willingness to understand the scheme as well, to contribute to this. So we can see that it could really strengthen the European ecosystem on one end, but then it will feed GEO as well. So, for example, amongst the top initiatives for the private sector in Europe, the EO for SDGs is really a top of interest. EO for DRM, disaster risk management as well, and EO for EA, ecosystem accounting. So I think this topic as well, are we well connected with the interest of the company? So this is where the mutual interest and the synergies can be developed.
Okay. Again, there's a lot to dig into there. You mentioned so you have sort of data sharing principles and data access as a core activity, and the action groups are oriented, I think, much more on application lines. Is that correct? There were 9 action groups. Is that still valid or?
It's still valid. There are 9 action groups. They met at the EuroGEO workshop in Krakow. To be fair, it's a lot of commitment from the chairs and co-chairs of this group to animate them. And until now, they didn't have resources to do so. So they were meeting and organizing the work at EuroGEO workshop, essentially, with limited interaction in between. So fortunately, with the EuroGEO project, we have the resources to animate those groups and again to unleash their potential. Really, when you put resources in this group, what is happening? So there was support from so Noah in Greece is leading that, and also we got support from the GRC to have an analysis of the positioning, work, and future activities of this group. So each of this group was sort of studied by and supported by a consultant to come up with a new formulation of their activities. And at the EuroGEO workshop, for the first time, we gave them time to review their vision and mission statements it looks a very small activity, but as a group, being able to tell why you are gathering, how you are doing things, what you are doing, with who you will be doing it. This definition of a group is already a big step forward. So it was done for all 9 groups, and already it brings clarity to what these groups would like to do, in which direction they are going, how they want to do it. It's a big step forward for them.
Yeah, I will complement there, if I may, that the private sector was really visible this year during the EuroGEO workshop in Warsaw, and really, they say, to be fair, that they still do not yet completely understand how they can join and contribute to these action groups. But they really appreciated this evolution, much more clear in terms of where they want to go, and start to define some path to join. So it's really in the making, but there is really a momentum.
Okay, good. The latest EuroGEO workshop took place, we mentioned, in Poland a few weeks ago. What were the objectives from that, and what were the sort of main results?
The main results, I mean, it's always a facet, right? So the main result for let's say, the project was number one, to gather the what we would call the EuroGEO community, but that is unformulated. But I mean, documents you find references to EuroGEO community. Nobody knows who these people are. So we were able to better qualify what this EuroGEO community is, and we opened the workshop to a much broader spectrum. So this time, and it was the first time, there was one full day dedicated to action groups, and also merging these action groups along what was called synergy sessions, because GEO itself has focus area that are sort of interlinked with 3 or 4 action groups each time. It's broader than what we were doing. So working in synergy. Number 2, it was to work on the engagement with the international community, and more specifically Copernicus and Destiny as well. How this initiative should be interacting with those massive commitments at European level, and how can it benefit to GEO as well, and vice versa. There were also different sessions that are related to the future work of EuroGEO, for example, with regional GEO. We had a discussion on that. We had a discussion on in situ, the role of in situ in GEO. So really on content, but in the international perspective. And number 3, the third day, it was a focus on national coordination mechanisms. And it's important because for now, you have this global GEO, you have national GEOs, but in between, the EuroGEO is not really linked to what is happening at national level. And what you think about it, in the way we are structuring activities in Europe, you have people in each member states that are trying to do the coordination between their national commitment to GEO, to Copernicus, and broadly to the EU space program, and sometimes even to the national policies. And these people are not right now in EuroGEO. But if we want to make actually the link between this European level, this global level, we need to have the national level represented. So we had a session with what we call national coordination mechanisms, not only national GEO, because some countries have established national GEO, but in other countries, we found people that are really trying to make the link between these different components. And those people are very important for the initiative, to make the link between this idea to bring synergies at European level and the needs that can also emerge in countries. For example, there was a discussion on trying to help identify the best practices in Europe to be able to monitor European policies implementation at national level. EuroGEO could contribute to that, certainly. The thing is, it's not in the scope right now. So the third day was about bringing the national component to GEO in a different fashion compared to what is done today.
Okay. So that's about then, as I understand it, trying to understand what may be specific European user needs, and to try to formulate approaches to meet some of those needs. Is
For
that
example, it could be disseminating best practices of what we discover somewhere and trying to bring it to a member state. It's already a big. It will be a big
because
shift.
under Geo there are a number of program activities, some larger than others, some much more complex than others. So as well as the sort of regional focus, you've also got thematic focuses, application focuses through the program activities. Not just applications, there are some horizontal activities as well. So how does, okay, bringing best practice between these different projects can be a useful added value. How else is that enabling things?
So you were asking for the outcome of EuroGEO workshop to the whole workshop.
I'm going beyond just the workshop and talking about EuroGEO and how it fits into this sort of quite complex picture, multi-dimensional matrix, isn't it?
Precisely. Actually, the main outcome of the workshop is that the design of the workshop is that each session is fitting into an area of activity for the implementation plan of EuroGEO. So one of the outcome of this project is to provide a recommendation for an implementation plan that would have a certain structure, and each of the sessions that we had, all the panel discussion that were organized, would be fitting into the structure as a recommendation. So the fact that, for example, the work on the member states would be the work supporting member states and having them on board in EuroGEO is also mentioned into this implementation plan. That's one of the main outcomes. Yeah.
Okay.
It really helps as well to understand what could be the different benefit of the future EuroGEO for the different users, because we use the word user so many times and we don't know who the user are. And I would say in our context, the users are the private sector, are the researchers, are the public bodies, are the EEs and the DGs at the end. All will benefit from this ecosystem. So when we interacted with all these entities, we really saw the different benefit. And one of the one that was really mostly said was the need for coordination. It can really support coordination. As said before by it was impossible for the means for the action groups are really limited. So just to have an umbrella organization which can support, coordinate activities, speed up the process, and so on, support the liaison with the other entities, for example, bring the right people from the commission, for example, could be really beneficial for this. Second point that was really said is about the need for better cooperation. So the networking aspect is the second highest benefit for them. People really want to connect with others. So this kind of umbrella can really facilitate the access, facilitate the discussion between the different entities. So to really maximize the potential creation of value. So cooperation, coordination, it's not a mistake why it is in the slide, are really crucial and can be really high value of EuroGEO. But for this, we need to understand what can be done and what could be the process. With so many people, you need to be really well aligned and identify what can be done. And that's why with GRC, we really worked a lot in order to see what can be done in order to facilitate the access to knowledge and what are the needs from the different DGs or policymakers at large, and how we can maximize this knowledge and share this knowledge to the appropriate people via GRC, KCEO, for example. So we can see that there is a move, at least this is a vision up to now, in order to facilitate access to knowledge and identify what can be done currently, what is currently available now, what could be, should be in the future in order to support future policies, for example.
Knowledge and best practices, capacity building came up very strongly too. Yeah, that's right.
So just to emphasize a point there, that what's behind you, Nicolas, combine, coordinate, cooperate is the motto of EuroGEO, just to make sure everybody recognizes that.
Yes, essentially we should start each sentence or statement by these 3 words, yes.
Yeah.
We kept it, it's from the original.
To develop each one of those and what's happening. Just a reminder, Wolfhard has just posted another question in the chat, but please, if you've got any questions, do pop them in the chat, and then we can pick up on them. It gives people a chance. We've touched on it several times, but clearly from Earth's point of view, our interest is to try to help the private sector develop. So EuroGEO itself even maybe, what's the vision for how these can help develop business for the private sector and companies in Europe? Emmanuel, I guess that much more towards you.
Of course. I would say first, what companies say how they could contribute to EuroGEO, to stay at the EuroGEO level, not to move to Geo yet. I would say companies really see their potential contribution in the sharing of expertise, and this is really the thing that they take the most. Second part, which is obviously maybe a bit more tricky and we need to understand exactly what kind of level and so on, is the provision of data and services. They are interested to support this. On the third part is about the exploitation. Companies see a potential role for them in this reuse of knowledge and know-how in order to move from research, innovation to more operationalization aspects. So EuroGEO can be an enabler for this company with this regard.
So you're suggesting that they can gain knowledge and gain information and maybe even access to data, but what they're interested in is business.
Absolutely, yes.
So how do they gain? Because there's no funding channel through EuroGEO or Geo. It's not a funding organization. But yeah.
Absolutely, they are clear on this. They clearly understood that there is no fund they can expect from this, but they understand that the indirect value for them is really about this connection with the experts that they could have, the potential users that they will have more maybe at the Geo level than the EuroGEO one in theory. And so all this will support their activity in the long term. We can see that there are some companies which are really well involved already in Geo and which really benefited of this. So it would be really good to interact and to give their say on why they are there. It could be one of the activities that we will do on share this view to a broader number of entities to maximize the future involvement of this company in Geo.
Okay, it's also a channel to talk with probably more specifically member states and representative member states who have a strong interest in the use of the technology for national purposes.
Absolutely, with something like 120 countries and 160 participating organizations, you have access, thanks to Geo, to a really broad community, which are already somehow knowledgeable on Earth observation, for sure, with some specificities, obviously, each of them. But it's really a door, open door to connection that especially small and medium companies may not have access to. So it's a door opener.
Mm-hmm. It's all in one place. EuroGEO with the European and Geo itself with a fully international audience. Okay, let's Wolfhard, you put a question in there about the links to Copernicus, which Thierry has sort of provided a certain answer, but maybe we can develop that a little bit more.
Right, thank you, Jeff. Well, indeed, Thierry provided a very concise and kind of almost satisfying answer, but at the same time, still leaves the question open for me. if you look at, for instance, the Copernicus user group, then there's the steer committee. We have the main two working groups for Copernicus defining what the Copernicus program consists of, what the structure is, what the different goals and directions are. If we have GEO on the, should I say, on the outside, very simple question is, how can we make sure that whatever is developed in EuroGEO is actually heard by those two groups directing the Copernicus program, and maybe expanding the program to new subjects, which are urgent, which are user needs driven. How is this political interaction actually foreseen? This is my main question.
I can try to respond a little bit on your question because it touches upon governance, and there are many questions that are pending. So the way we went about it in the project is to engage with the interested entities in Copernicus in the project, and we were very welcome to approach them. That's number one. But we made a deliberate effort to engage them into the design of the EuroGEO workshop, for example, the program, so through the program committees, to make sure that when there is a session of an action group or a synergy session, like substantial, how to say that, like a programmatic session, that there would be the relevant Copernicus thematic hub, for example, involved, or the relevant Copernicus component involved. For example, for in situ, it was a co-chaired with EEA, that is the interested entities for in situ data and Copernicus program. So we tried to make these operational links first. That's, through people and through expertise. So it worked very well, and we were very welcome to step in and have them involved into the project. Then regarding the synergies at governance level, it's another story, because we would need to involve the right persons in the different program committees or in the different member states, also in the governance of EuroGEO. And this is actually, so as I said, we are working on an implementation plan. We should work on a sustainability pathway for EuroGEO. It's one of the objectives. In our recommendation, this is one of the recommendations we are making, to have at governance level already those elements, those governance elements that are dealing with Copernicus also, and also Destiny, because it's relevant to us, but also involved into the governance of EuroGEO in one way or another. For now, we don't have really the governance structure that allows that. As I said, we have a high-level working group. It's a different purpose, but if we are going to a different repositioning of EuroGEO with much stronger contribution of Copernicus, our recommendation would be to indeed work on governance and to try to have a merging on the governance aspect. It's not easy because it's not the same Directorate General at the Commission that deal with the different components of the space program. At member states level, it's not necessarily the same ministries, etc. But it would be our recommendation to at least try to go in that direction to have a better interlinkage of the initiative. So that your point is very relevant, yes.
And thank you. That's kind of the answer that I was hoping for. Thank you very much.
I add a little bit to that, part, because I think at the very beginning, the concept of GEO was much more about upstream than downstream. I think it was aimed to try to improve the coordination between countries, between national governments, in terms of the space capacity that was developed and launched. You've got CEOS as another organization. That's space agencies that come together, so they're talking, but there wasn't a forum for the countries to exchange and talk with. So my probably fairly simple understanding was that was the origins of GEO. Now, as that is it doesn't require a very intensive program to do that. It's a lot of talking every so often, and as GEO struggled to find its position, it moved more and more downstream until now the focus, I think, is very much downstream. So I would also be interested to know, and maybe this is where we could ask Jana or Frans, I don't know whether he is able to comment on this, but about the discussion of space capacity and data sources, whether that takes place within a geo context. Anyone who wishes to respond, please do. I just throw that one in.
Okay, I may give some word here. Because I'm also part of the program board of GEO.
Yeah.
Currently, we are designing the new work program of GEO, and the strategic orientation is toward operational services, clearly downstream activity. And to also add on what said Nicolas, we had a specific discussion with each of the partners, each of the Copernicus services, in order also to explain that we are not going to replace anyone, but we are open to share our activity and to develop with them a common point of view in terms of Earth observation on the long run. That's the 2 points I'd like to stress. And Frans opened its camera, so up to you, Frans.
Frans?
Yes, thanks. Thanks, and hello, everyone. Yeah, I think there's many aspects to be highlighted, but I like to highlight one, and that is that actually GEO in the GEO context, Earth observation is not only satellite remote sensing. It's not only space. There's a lot of other observing systems that are important. And from the new strategy of GEO, it is quite well spelled out that what GEO aims at is really integrating various data sources. So space, in situ, or other Earth observation data, but also other data, socioeconomic data, to create products that really help decision makers making better decisions. So that's really the idea. So I really like to emphasize this going beyond only space data. Space data is, of course, a huge asset, and you can do a lot with it, but to really inform decision makers on vulnerabilities regarding floods, you need to also include other data sources. That's important.
Yeah, and I don't want to give the wrong impression of that sort of shift, because I think it's very important and very much welcomed by the industry and the sector. So I think, and most EO services require this other data. So as long as the focus is around space data, and I think that's certainly that would be, with my old hat on, that would certainly have been my my push, my focus. There's an interesting comment. It's much more a comment than a question, but I don't know whether the author wishes to develop that. Svilia, do you want to say more about investors and move?
Yes, thank you very much. That's basically my comment, because in the last 2 years, I have communication with venture capitalists, and they are not understanding actually, yes, as you mentioned, downstream sector needs to be more involved with financial support, especially in European countries like Eastern Hungary or eastern side of the continent. I don't know, what do you experience or what is your suggestion, but investors need to be also well informed about space industry. Yeah, currently they are not supporting downstream sector.
So I guess GEO provides some good links and good source of information there. Would that be, how accessible would that be? Nicola, do you have any sort of experience there?
I share the same concern. So because what we see is that we have the core of our activity is focused on that. So helping to improve the pilot development, market development, etc. We have the capabilities to help do that. But then there is always this last mile where you need to look for funding. In what we find around our massive European program, or even at some point the European Space Agency is financing upscaling of pilots, or pilot activities are also funded. But for now, we don't have an activity where we would be able to gather those financiers that could be interested in financing downstream activities. So that it's just not on our right now on our work plan for the time being. But the fact is that if we are working on trying to improve, the go-to-market somehow and supporting this development of the sector downstream towards sustainable services, at some point we will have to talk about financiers. And right now we don't have a group for that, or any kind of coordination activities on our side, and it will be missing when we will be successful. When we will be successful in doing that, it will be missing. It's something we will need to consider.
Well, there was some activity linked to that within EuroGEO, wasn't there?
Yes.
Emmanuel, is there ongoing activity around making companies aware of investment opportunities and investors aware of business opportunities?
We define what we call some pipeline in the context of EuroGEO, where we will develop different activities. Is there one really linked to how to nurture investors and stimulate them? I would say not really. It's more on the assessment that the work is performed. I would say in the context of GEO and EuroGEO, maybe the key value or the first step too is really to showcase the benefits of the solutions being developed, rather than lobbying, I would say, investors and so on to come. Investors will come, and we can see more and more investors in the Earth observation landscape. And we interacted as EuroGEO, but not only as EuroGEO, as you mentioned just before, within EShape, for example, and some really clearly target downstream. I have in mind, for example, some in Italy, and they want to spend, I think it's 80% of their budget in downstream. So it's something which is now maybe not yet fully perceived among all the different VCs and so on. But it is something which is moving, and so we can support this through different activities.
EuroGEO could provide a vehicle for developing that, and for making those links. Franz, you raise your hand.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect, and indeed, probably we don't see so much investments in this, but maybe it's partly also because there's an Earth observation sector or market that seems to run very well, and we don't see it because they don't need our funding. If you read the report from the World Economic Forum, or also from the European Space European Union Space Agency, EUSPA, there's these market analysis, and there's quite a market there, and there's hopefully also investments, and we may not see, but maybe it's indeed an area where we could do more. The other reason may be that a lot of these services that we talk about, the downstream part, is in the public domain.
Yeah.
So it's not really an area, well, partly. So it's an area where people expect this to be public services, and where there's not really a private market for it. So that's why we launched an initiative currently, the pre-commercial procurement, where we will start a project very soon, where indeed the investor in this case is the public sector, water management, water suppliers, which will procure development of services they need. and we will be aim at creating a market, so to say, there also for private business to create those services for the public domain. In this case, it's mainly the water sector that will be. So if you watch out for the project PCP WISE, which will start very soon, I think that could be an interesting, for those of you working in the area of water management, could be an interesting opportunity there.
Sounds very interesting. One last question before we close. Helga is asking about the international perspective. Helga, can you explain your question?
Yes, yeah. First, thanks to creating this opportunity again for having a communication about these subjects. So, yeah, in contrast to the European perspective and basically also the national perspective, which also always is strong because it's in close proximity to everyone. So everyone has also a national context. I'd be interested how the international perspective of the EuroGEO activities are kind of taken into consideration. I think, for example, of the International Data Spaces Association, which is working on this kind of new and sharing standard for data. Working on a standard. I think this is something important which also Europe should support. I mean, Earth is kind of a really big planet and it's all around the planet happening. And we know that because for our company, for Plan Blue, for example, downstream is actually upstream because we bring the data from the seafloor to the surface. So, and we are also thinking about how do we deal with our data from which we kind of create in a commercial way or in the private sector, but which needs to find its way into, for example, all these kind of outlets and customers, like also governments who need this information for decision making. And then we are talking immediately international. So it's Europe, yes, but also international. We are, for example, active also in the Bahamas. So it's not only Italy, it's not only Turkey, it's not only Germany or France, it's also the US. And then I think it's important to also keep a viable and lively connection to the international community in this regard.
Okay, thanks. Nicola?
Yes, I can only respond partly to what you just said. So we've identified this area of activity because we see that there are already synergies within GEO between the different initiatives of GEO, and we have European activities, European funded activities for GEO that are supporting the other regional GEO in Africa, for example. We see also that DG INPA in the European Commission is also financing activities like relevant to the GEO and EuroGEO context, but they are financing it separately through that channel. So what we've done is that we've put together at the EuroGEO workshop, we've put a session together on the engagement with regional GEO, and we had it co-chair with DG INPA. The idea is that there seems to be a converging idea that we could collaborate with other regional GEO on capacity building. In particular, because in Europe we have the Copernicus service, which is a major global benefit, frankly, not only for Europe, but for everybody. And there is a need to better promote this European asset, to other regional activities and national activities outside Europe. So in that case, there could be synergies there between what DG INPA is doing in any case and the structure of GEO through the regional GEO. It's work in progress. But indeed, when we are talking about activities of a potential EuroGEO secretariat, that's also one of the areas of activity we've identified. Yeah, to work with those regional geo. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top, we can say that the action groups as well are already engaged with non-European countries too. They have a lot of stakeholders and partners in different regions, especially in Africa, where they currently collaborate in the long term. And so this international component is already really strong, could be developed, yes, thanks to what just has been said, but it's already a key asset that we can build on.
And by nature, because we are part of GEO, it's also international.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What a general question? Maybe we carry on it on in a minute after the sort of first close. But what could we do more? Or don't answer that one right now. Thank you, Emmanuel, Nicolas, and Thierry for being here. Thank you, France, for joining as well. We've put a bit of a spotlight onto EuroGEO as a component of GEO. I think GEO is a very complex structure to understand. So I hope that we've at least been able to clarify some of the aspects of what's happening and how EuroGEO can really act for the European EO sector. If you have further questions, we'll carry on the discussion afterwards. But I think it's a subject that maybe we'll try to go back to GEO and set up another talk with GEO. Maybe it really is time to do that. So thank you all for joining today. Next EOcafe is in 2 weeks' time as usual. But Tanya, yeah.
Yes. Sorry,
Tanya,
Jeff. Oh,
another
yeah.
message, yeah.
Yes. Oh, sorry. It's now. Wait a second. Yes, I just want to make everyone here in the audience aware of another initiative that we're working on. Just give me a second because the slide has now closed. Which is in cooperation with the ECMWF, so the Copernicus Atmosphere and Climate Change Monitoring Service. And they are looking for user testimonials, basically. And if in a second you will see on my screen the QR code to take part in submitting basically your user testimonial. So this could be about anything. Anything where you're using Copernicus CAMS or C3S data, whether it's a commercial application, research, innovation product in your I don't know, even in your teaching, if you're a professor, or any other use that you're using it for, they are looking for these different testimonials, basically. And the idea is that through the results that we get, some of them will be integrated possibly in the promotional materials. So you might be able, for example, if they're presenting different ways of using those data on atmospheric monitoring, for example, air quality, they might be able to use your data. And we as ERSCA also developing on behalf of ECMWF specific case studies going into more depth of some of these uses. So we just want to make the community, the EuroCafe community, aware of this opportunity. So here you have the QR code that should take you to the form. It's really quite short. So we invite anyone that wants to maybe possibly be able to be part of the promotional materials, but also give some sort of feedback on how those data are being used. So yeah, that was the very short announcement. Thank you, Jeff.
In the frame of GEO as well, we should inform that in December, you will have the first registration for the upcoming biggest GEO event, the GEO Forum, which will be beginning of May in Italy. So it's a great momentum. If you want to discover, explore, better liaise with this community, it will be really a timely action. On top, well, it's not yet official, so please keep it with you, but normally an industry track will be organized this year in May during this GEO Forum. So if you are interested, do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we will keep you in the loop to make it a big success.
Okay, that's good to hear that there'll be an industry track. I think that was a very successful introduction in essentially in Australia. I just wanted to throw another little publicity in as well, because many of you know I'm involved with the SEBS, the benefit analysis activities, and in the Living Planet next year in June in Vienna, there will be 4 dedicated sessions to benefit analysis. So if anyone has any work ongoing there or an interest in following it, you can submit papers, but in any case, you can participate to the discussions that will take place. So just a little aside, you can find it in the Living Planet program. So then next EOcafe in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully see you there. Did you have a slide on that, Tanya? No, I guess it was just the date slide.
Yeah,
So
it was just see you in 2 weeks.
we're going to explore the use of art in communication. So the use of art to communicate the benefits of Earth observation, to enhance artistic studies, to enhance storytelling, which is a very important part of our benefit analysis, our SEBS activities. So it will be a slightly different subject, but one I think that will be very interesting to develop together and understand more and what can be done. So we'll have that as a subject in 2 weeks' time. So at that point, a little bit late, I'm afraid, but we'll close the EOcafe. We've had a few people leaving in the meantime. And as usual, if anybody wants to stay and chat, we keep the floor open, and just open up your microphone and join in. Thanks very much.